I'll just go on record. I'm very comfortable saying it. I believe in God. I do. I think there are many things that science can explain. There are certain things science can't explain. But I'll even go a step further, which is that all the elements of science are entirely compatible with the idea of there being a God. And I'm not the first scientist to say this.
Welcome back to Biohacking Insights. In today's video, the famed neuroscientist, highly revered in his field, drops a huge revelation. Dr. Andrew Huberman believes in God, and he also explains what prayer can do for you. What makes Dr. Huberman the conviction that God exists? How can this revelation impact your life?
We know that the programs, meaning there's DNA, then there's RNA, and then there's proteins. And proteins are the action end of the game where they say, hey, like grow over here, don't grow over there, become this kind of cell, dopamine cell or a serotonin cell.
Do you know that from mice to humans, the systems for producing proteins and various body cells are remarkably similar? However, the development of the brain regions involved in context and planning is an example of what makes humans unique among other animals. Yet, the memory systems, which regulate hormones, breathing, and heart rate, are similar, if not identical. We marvel at the beauty of the world and the meticulous organization of life in brain growth, neuroplasticity, or dopamine. These revelations can create a profound appreciation for life, like in the case of Dr. Huberman. No one would suggest a sandstorm randomly blew a castle into existence in the middle of a desert. So Dr. Huberman also doesn't think that cells, these intricate marvels of nanoengineering, came to existence by chance. Irrespective of your beliefs, atheism, agnosticism, or creator, you must step back and simply say, wow! Naturally, there are differences among scientists regarding who believes in God and who does not. For the record, Dr. Huberman clarifies that he has no trouble stating that he believes in God. The neuroscientist believes that science can explain a great deal of things. There are some things that science cannot explain, but he goes as far as to argue that all the components of science are entirely consistent with the existence of God. And of course, he is not the first scientist to make this claim. There is the famed Carl Jung, one of the finest psychologists of all time, undoubtedly a believer in God. And Einstein was no exception. There are plenty of scientists who reject religion, as well as agnostic scientists who are only vaguely sure. But Dr. Huberman has seen enough biology to point out the hand of God. See the brain, for example. In biological terms, the brain is the apex of all creation. The immune system, the liver, and the heart are all fascinating, but the brain is incredible. Do you know the level of sophistication it takes to move your body like you do? Consider modern technology, spaceships, the internet, supersonic aircraft, giga space research facilities, nanorobotics, and everything in between, all as a function of carrying the most sophisticated piece of matter in our skulls.
Secretly, I've always prayed. I absolutely love that the idea, but also what for me is really a deep belief, which is that we can't control everything. We're not in as much control as we think we are.
It is impossible to fully comprehend the beauty of biology and the splendor of nature. How might that be possible? That is an intriguing one, as Dr. Huberman firmly believes that he does. Though the story of us as a species fascinates Dr. Huberman, he's very interested in the spiritual exercise too. He prays out loud in the morning and sometimes again in the middle of the night if he wakes up. The neuroscientist claims it brings you calm more often than not, and this has brought him so much peace. This might sound strange, but the neuroscientist vouches for the power of prayer. It's how these things operate. Dr. Huberman reveals that there were some things that he was struggling with that he could not overcome because they were all internal. Things like self-discipline and having a response are examples. It wasn't as though he lacked discipline, mind you, but he wanted to pray for other people and purge his character flaws. Dr. Huberman prays for the ability to truly harness love and care for myself and other people these days, as he claims he hasn't done enough of that in his life. He is very disciplined, and now he prays all the time. Through prayers, you can truly see yourself as serving a greater power, like a conduit. And the better you can do that, the better you're serving, and the more you connect to humankind. This allows you to put the most outstanding work into the world to serve genuinely. Dr. Huberman indicates that he had incredible mentors when he was a young man, and their advice to him was to live each day to the fullest and focus on the things that truly mattered. Thus, everything has always seemed connected by forces that are bigger than us. No doubt when you do all this, you become more grateful with a deeper, more profound appreciation for life.
I always wanted to have a deeper relationship to God. And I kind of was like, why don't I have that? Well, duh. That's like saying, I want to be fit. Why I'm not fit? Well, because you're not running. A couple of different people that kept showing up in my life and they were doing it. And I was like, well, pray. And, I've learned, and I certainly try and do this.
Prayer often involves listening. You make requests or listen for things, then wait and watch things happen. You can say it's similar to fitness, as results occur only after consistent practice over time. Still, even Dr. Huberman is careful not to minimize the importance of prayer by comparing it to fitness. There are some crucial parallels, though, like consistency. And Dr. Huberman admits he owes much of his success to the vital principle of prayer. The neuroscientist believes that the podcast's success is mainly due to his immense gratitude and that he is also learning and sharing, which is essentially what he was doing as a kid of 8 or 9. Thus, it was always present in him, and he felt the energy, which made him wonder, how did I get here? As a young kid, he'll ask, why exactly do none of the other kids seem to have this? It can occasionally feel more like a weight than a curse, like, what do I do with this? His deep satisfaction comes from acknowledging, this is me. Dr. Huberman announces that this is who he's always been, that it's not coming from me, and that won't change. It's flowing through me correctly, and all we should want to do is follow it.
For me, the sweet spot that I finally get steady glimpses of is being loving, but also realistic. Like you can be so loving that you lose touch with the reality. Too much trust isn't good either. But you don't want to be unloving to yourself and others, because then you look at the world through a cynical lens, and then you're not going to be doing your best work.
Loving while staying rooted in reality is like dancing in a garden. Communication is the rhythm. Setting boundaries are the graceful steps. And self-care is the occasional pause to admire the blooming flowers. Your dance partner is love, but the dance floor is shared with responsibilities and life experiences. As you twirl through the garden, remember that the beauty lies not just in the sweeping moves, but also in the awareness of the ground beneath your feet. The dance of love flourishes when the rhythm of emotion harmonizes with the practical beats, creating a captivating and balanced performance in the garden of life. Dr. Huberman would say, prayer connects us to the divine presence, unfolding creation in an eternal, enchanting embrace. The renowned neuroscientist reveals that prayer to God makes his life better. We all can too. Suppose you want to learn more from Dr. Andrew Huberman. Check out the Huberman game-changing weekly workouts that will boost your performance and productivity like never before. Stay tuned.